Hello, good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone following from Indonesia, and also good day or good afternoon from elsewhere. Thank you for coming this morning, attending the Forum Kajian Pembangunan this morning. Before we start, let me remind everyone that this seminar will be recorded. And the recording will be available from our YouTube channel. Also, we apologize that you cannot see each other, but this is there are 45 people in the room, so likely some others will join. And also, hello to everyone joining on YouTube. Thank you for coming. But everyone will be allowed to participate in the discussion. You have the opportunity to write your comments or questions in the Q&A box. Or if you are in the Zoom room, you may raise your hand during the Q&A session, and we will call you to ask your question directly. The Forum Kajian Pembangunan Secretariat is supported by the ANU Indonesia project and also the Australian Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade. Thank you. So this morning is a special session because for several, I think this is the third year where we have recipients of IRSA awards, whether it's Best Paper Award, and this year it is the recipients of the IRSA Research Support. So this morning we have two of the recipients. So I think the recipients are two papers or two groups of researchers. We were just talking this morning that one paper was presented at the IRSA, but actually the second paper is a global launch of the paper or research. I think because unfortunately it wasn't presented at the conference, the IRSA conference that was just a week ago in Ambon, due to some technical issues. So let me introduce the speakers this morning. So we discussed and agreed that it will be according to the announcement. So the first speaker is Hayunisa. Ibu Hayunisa is a lecturer at the Department of Psychology, Faculty of Medicine at Universitas Syah Kuala, Banda Aceh, Aceh, Nangro Aceh, Darussalam. She is now undertaking her doctoral program in Yogyakarta. So Ibu Hayudita is joining us from Yogyakarta. Good morning, Ibu. Thank you for your time this morning.
Morning, my dear.
And the paper that will be presented, or the research, is with a very interesting title, Eco-Anxiety, the impact of climate change on women's mental health in Aceh, Indonesia. So this is the first paper. And welcome also to Dr. Zulfa Sakia. Ibu Zulfa is Associate Professor at the Faculty of Languages and Art at the State University of Semarang, Universitas Negeri Semarang. So good morning.
Morning. Thank you.
Good morning, Ibu Zulfa. Thank you for joining us this morning. So this paper is entitled Ungendering Climate Resilience, Why Women Matter in Climate Resilience in Indonesia. So let's start with, let's start with the presentations. Mahayun, you have about 20 minutes, which will then be followed by Ibu Zulfa, and then we will have at least hopefully about 40 minutes of Q&A session. So Ibu Hayun, the Zoom room is yours.
Okay, thank you, Nadia. Good morning, everyone in the room of Zoom meeting. This allow me to share. Can you see my screen?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. It's full screen on.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, a little bit anxious because this is very for the first time presentation in FKP. Yeah, good morning everyone, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to Forum Kajian Pembangunan FKP for the opportunity to share our research that has been presented in IRSA Conference in Ambon. I think it's 2 weeks ago, and we are delighted to be here to meet all of the participants and maybe a lot of discussion can be together. Yeah. First, maybe what do you think when you see this picture? Yeah. Maybe 2 seconds or 3 seconds. Just what in your mind when you see this picture? Yeah. Yeah, maybe some of you are thinking about extreme weather. Yeah, we can see this the sun. And, yeah, thinking about hot temperatures, thinking about this the housewife daily life or many others. Yeah, it's part of that I talked with the woman last year. I had a conversation with a woman who take care of home and have a 3 children. She shared the ever changing weather often throws a wrench in her daily plans, and leaving her feeling frustrated and struggling to get a good night's sleep. I want I wanted to bring up this issue or this story to shed light on how climate change impacts the mental health well-being of women. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Hayunisa, and I'm a lecturer of Universitas Kuala, but currently I'm a PhD student at Universitas Gajah Mada. And together with Weni Aidina and Dian Fakhrunisa, as a team, conducted a research entitled Eco-Anxiety, the impact of climate change on women's mental health in Aceh, Indonesia. Let me start by giving you some background about climate change and mental health. According to WHO and Clayton, climate change has wide-ranging challenges, as we know that have an impact and is the greatest threat to the life, health, and well-being of the first human life. But sometimes we don't know about the effect of climate change, and we don't know what is the climate change. We don't have knowledge literally of the climate change. And the Intergovernmental Panel of Climate Change has concluded that climate change impacts vary across regions, generation, ages, socioeconomic classes, income, occupation, and gender. And that's why, based on the previous research, women as part of class or part of that will be affected by climate change, and particularly those residing in developing countries are equally impacted by the effects of climate change. And climate change and women's mental health are related to Sustainable Development Goals Agenda, and which focusing on psychological well-being and health, and also about the gender equality. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, as we know, Indonesia is ranked as the second highest country in the world for disaster risk. Many disasters happening in our country, and this is part of how to prevent the impact, the large impact if disaster happen. Occur. Yeah, Aceh. Why we conduct in Aceh? Because Aceh has history of human conflict, earthquake, and tsunami that have severely affected our community. Including women. And in Aceh, women are often expected to assume additional responsibilities during difficult times, such as climate change. Yeah, that's why in the first presentation, women daily life, about the household responsibility of women. Yeah. So what is eco-anxiety? Yeah, it is like the phenomenon that impact of describing about the impact of climate change. So climate change is a multifaceted challenges that poses a significant threat to public health, including mental health, including human health. Maybe we often hear about the impact of climate change to the health, but especially to mental health is a limited resource that talk about the climate change and mental health. And equality can have a profound negative impact on mental health well-being due to the increasingly frequent extreme weather events and rising global temperatures. And it's this has happened in Aceh in when community will have like a hot temperature and unexpected weather. That's why will impact on their mental health. Understanding the intersectionality of gender and climate change is essential for addressing the unique mental health needs of women. So we have to know what will happen for the woman because part of the climate change. Well, we are now turning our attention to research objective. Our research objective is to conduct comprehensive research on the potential impact of climate change on the mental health of women residing in Indonesia. And our outcome is to produce insight on how climate change affects on women's mental health and the intersecting dynamics involved. In this research, the methodology that we use in this research is a quantitative approach with the correlational design, and the participant that involved in with the characteristic is married woman aged between 20 to 65 and residents of Aceh province. For the data collection, we involve 10 enumerators and use the Google form. And for the make sure about the data collection, we have a data quality control procedure that we have a unique code for each participant through the enumerators, and only women who have been assigned a code can attend the survey. And we get the total respondent about the 1,404 from the 20 of 23 districts in Aceh. For the ethical approval, we get from the research and how can we measure the impact of eco-anxiety to climate change? We use two instruments. First, the Center of Epidemiological Studies Depression. I think it's more popular in Indonesia, especially for the researcher that use EFLS. This is the instrument content of will assess depressive symptom for non-clinical sample, and we use 8 items of unidimensional scale. And the second one, we use climate change anxiety scale. This content of certain items to measure climate change impact and assess participants' cognitive, emotional, and functional impairment. So this is the two instruments that we use to measure the impact of climate change to mental health. So what did we find out from the study? Yeah. First, from the I would like to illustrate the result by showing you the chart. Maybe this is from the background of marital status. Yeah, we can see that we have the married woman and divorced or widow. And from the based on the settlement, we have a participant from urban and rural area. This is the number of participants joining the research. And we divided to the participant from the based on their job or their daily activity or employment. And we also get information from the participant. From the participant that have unequal responsibility means that they do most of household tasks, and equal responsibility that they not do most of household. So we investigate how much participant that in the elementary school, senior school that have are equal responsibility or equal responsibility in the home. And we also analyze household income per month and household responsibility. It's range between 1 million to 8 million rupiah, and we can see that maybe how much they get the income they have. They also have an unequal responsibility in the home. It also happened in the woman with domestic assistant that they have domestic assistant or no, and you can see that large of participant or most part of participant don't has a domestic assistant, and you can see the unequal responsibility more occur in the participant. Yeah, what about the mental health leveling or maybe scale of level of depressive symptoms? You can see that 69% of participants have in the level of depressive symptoms, in the mild of level of depressive symptoms, and 26.5 in the moderate of depressive symptoms. When we separate based on the urban and rural area, we can see that, yeah, we can see together that in urban, participants who have mild level of depressive symptoms, it's about 41.6% and 58.44% for the women who live in the rural area. But I just wondering that, yeah, whether they live in the urban and rural area, they have maybe like same of a level of the depressive symptoms. And we also analyze from based on the level of education, higher education, and maybe like middle, that the level of depressive symptoms in the severe level. And if we analyze based on the household responsibility, equal responsibility, it's only one participant too that yeah, it's interesting to analyze deeply, maybe like from the interview to get the more information about the level of depressive symptoms. Yeah, we divided level of depressive symptom based on having domestic assistant. It's happened in one participant that in the severe level of depressive symptoms. In the mild, that women who have the domestic assistant in the mild level, in the moderate level. Yeah. So what about the climate change impact? 82% of participants being in the level of climate change in the mild level, and we analyze from the urban and rural area too, and you can see this in this chart that only one participant level severe of climate change impact based on the living area, and this is based on the education, higher education or high education or the middle school. They have, yeah, I think it's like a mean that of the level of climate change impact that they feel, especially for women. And for the second chart, we can see the level of climate change impact based on household responsibility. Some of women, or 88% women feel in several level of climate change impact. And I think this needs more attention from us. What happened this impact their household responsibility. Yeah, this is a chart from the level of climate change impact based on having domestic assistance. So, what about the correlation between climate change and mental health? The analysis found that an association between climate change and mental health and climate change impact statistically significant predicted a Chinese woman's mental health. And the value or R square indicate that climate change explain approximately 29% of the variance in mental health. Okay, so what can we get in this discussion? Yeah? Based on the result, we found the effect of climate change on women's mental health relate to the climate change and domestic burden, and then women and domestic burden, gender inequality and domestic burden and mental health. I think this is the aspect that we can talk more about the impact of climate change on mental health of women. Yeah, based on the result, we can state that eco-anxiety, climate change, and mental health are deeply interconnected among married women. And this is in line with the previous research. State that anxiety is associated with perception of climate change, even among people who have not personally experienced any impacts. Although eco-anxiety is not a mental disorder, so we can felt by climate change. So if the woman maybe not really feel know about the climate change, but they feel the effect of climate change, they have to give a place special attention for the psychological reaction. And climate change affect household activity and finance and increasing domestic burden. Women are the most vulnerable to domestic burden experience because of their significant responsibility. Yeah, because women have I think a large of responsibility in the home, so they have to facing the domestic burden, and they have to finish the daily life, the responsibility in the home. Women are still responsible for household work despite having a job. Yeah, based on the result that whatever they're doing in the daily life or their job, they have to responsible for their household tasks. And data show that 15% and above of women, even though they have job as office worker, working online, etc., still hold responsibility for domestic household work. And this is in line with the previous research, which found that women are still responsible for supervising daily work, even though they have other family members at home or with household help. This research also explains that social construct also have an essential role in the meaning of domestic household work carried out by wife. The social construct demands require women to be involved in domestic work more often than men. The role of housewife, mother, wife, and worker mean that women must prepare to carry out this responsibility. And mental health issue among women were found in research conducted by Marius and Matsini. And women involved in domestic work tend to have mental health problems, especially showing symptoms of depression. As we know, maybe in our environment, that women tell us about how they're feeling about daily life, but they don't know this is a symptom of depression. What can we can highlight on conclusion for the main point. This is that climate change is widely recognized as a significant challenge for the future. So we have to prevent the effect, especially for the mental health of women. And then the effect of climate change on the mental health of women are complicated and have far-reaching consequences. And the communities are accountable for the implementation of a range of strategies aimed at reinforcing adjustment and coping mechanisms. And the last, it is essential to prioritize women's mental health, especially as they bear a significant domestic burden. So we press the important aspect in the domestic burden. So, ladies and gentlemen, based on the finding, we have a recommendation that's first, providing education or awareness about balancing household responsibility is crucial for the promoting the mental health well-being of women impacted by climate change. And the second one, policymakers must understand the interconnection between climate change, mental health, and gender equality. Prioritizing gender equality into climate change adaptation policies can empower women and men to enhance their skill and mitigate vulnerability. I think that's all the result sharing of our research, and thank you for Forum Kajian Pembangunan for this opportunity. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you very much, Mbak Hayun, for the presentation. We will take some questions after the second presentation, but I see that there is a question about more about the technical research, yeah. The question is, can you explain more about the sampling method and what questions were asked about climate change? So maybe this is about the sampling method, I guess, if it's collected randomly or something. And questions about the climate change, maybe you can just give one or two examples. For example, in this case, because we have limited time, I understand the presentation cannot go through all the questions. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, the sampling method. So we involve 10 enumerators. So 10 enumerators will meet the participant, and they ask their informed consent, and then the enumerator will give a unique code for the participant for the field in the Google form. So we have 10 enumerators in the, it's about in the 20, maybe like 20 district in Aceh. So we discuss, and then we discuss about the task for the enumerators, and then they will assess who is the woman like suitable for the criteria, and then the enumerator will give the unique code for the woman.
Okay, so it was the sample was identified beforehand.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's anonymous. Anonymous for us, for the data analyzed. We don't know who is the woman's name.
So it was chosen by the enumerator.
Yes, enumerator.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So this is a similar question also by Gia Derari. Maybe we can discuss in the Q&A session about the questions that were asked in the survey, because that was what kind of questions were posed to the respondents. Okay, thank you. I see a lot of questions already in the Q&A box. Thank you very much, but we will follow up after the second presentation, and we will post the question and discuss more about this. So the second presentation is by Dr. Zulfa Sakia. A correction on the title, it is Gendering Climate Resilience. Why women matter in climate resilience in Indonesia. So Ibu Zulfa, the group is yours. about 20 minutes.
Thank you very much, Ibu Lydia. Let me share screen. Right. Is it up there on the screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And am I audible? Okay, thank you very
Yes.
much, Ibu Lydia. And just firstly, would like to acknowledge the intention, and we're fortunate to have the support from IRSA. And it's a real honor to be able to share such findings on gender and climate change during an honorable forum. To have this opportunity. And it's actually not a work, a lonely work. This is a collaborative work between Universitas Negeri Semarang, myself, Dr. Yulida Pangasuti from Universitas Gadjah Mada, as well as Professor Phil Dawson from University of Western Australia. And just to let you know that my research and training background is actually discourse analysis and gender. So I will look at the issue of climate change from this perspective where my training has shaped me. And here I've got these two pictures, right? And these two pictures illustrating how climate crisis impacts women. And you can see that although they are in different locations, the top and the left side is in India, and the other one on the bottom is in Indonesia. However, they both build a portrayal that women are vulnerable during climate crisis. Although within climate crisis narratives and discourses, women are portrayed as vulnerable because data shows, previous studies shows that women are 14 times more likely to die or be injured due to either natural disasters, and they are also highly vulnerable and prone to sexual harassment, domestic violence, child marriage, sexual exploitation, human trafficking, and also as Mbak Hayuns have demonstrated, they are really vulnerable. They're a mental health issue as well for depression. And don't take me wrong, we agree that climate crisis doesn't affect everyone equally. As Mbak Hayun explained just now, that women and girls, they face disproportionate impacts from climate change. And this is mainly because these gender women, they make up the majority of the world's poor, who are highly dependent on local natural resources for their livelihood. So, for example, during long drought, for example, they have to provide food, water, and household energy, like not like solar panel, but it's like firewood for their families for cooking. They have to work twice harder, they have to walk farther, they have to spend more time in securing income resources like water and so on for their families. However, our concern is that such narrative, such discourse, although to some extent they are true, they turns the attention away from the real inequalities on the ground in terms of decision making, access to resources, and as well as the absence of institutional norms that need to improve access and protect those vulnerable, including women. And this discourse of victimhood cuts out the space for understanding women's agency and discounting, innovation strategies that can be adopted in climate resilience. The discourse of victimhood overlooks that women actually play considerable roles in taking up grassroots initiatives in climate adaptation. So our study would like to address this gap because there is a very limited research and policy attention given to these grassroots networks, female networks, despite their extensive knowledge, practical experience, and social connection in preserving forests, water resources. They educate the locals. They advocate for women's empowerment in climate justice. So we might begin to question why do we need to take these gendered perspectives? Because issues, as you know, the feminist political ecology scholars would argue that issues pertaining to the environment, they're inherently political, and decisions about the environment are not actually politically neutral. So that's why it affects further to the access to and control of environmental resources that are linked to the positioning of people by gender, race, class, and culture. So actually, it's not gender per se, but it's more of the intersectionality of many social variables that collides and intersects. But the basis one is gender. And in order to pursue this relationship between gender and climate adaptation, we conducted policy reviews on climate adaptation and climate change in Indonesia. We conducted survey to around 200 climate advocacy networks in Indonesia that are initiated by women. We also organized feminist participatory action research with 4 women's climate organizations in Kupang, Poso, and 2 organizations in Jogja. We use this approach, feminist participatory action research, because this method engage our participants, our partners, in equal position in collaborative knowledge production, because they are actually the one on the ground doing the work every day. And this FPAR enables our partners to critically analyze their experiences in empowering women to climate resilience, and also it enables them to mobilize collective action towards a more equitable society. So as our first research findings show that in response to climate change, the Indonesian government actually has issued climate adaptation policies. And our study has found 54 climate change related policies issued by 4 institutions or ministries. They are the Bappenas, National Development Planning Agency, the Ministry of Environment and Forestry, LHK, the Ministry of Women Empowerment and Child Protection, KPPA, and the Ministry of Maritime Affairs and Fisheries. And of these 54 policies, only 7 documents have only explicitly mentioned the word gender and or woman in the adaptation policies. However, these policies only touch on the issue of gender superficially and have not addressed the required efforts, more substantial issue for inclusive climate adaptation. And these are the 7 policies. From the other methods in our research, our findings reveal that from the survey, more than 200 women's climate advocacy groups have contributed to a vast array of adaptation strategies at local level, and different groups from different localities are exposed to climate crisis and vulnerability in variety of forms and intensities. And therefore, each group, as our findings suggest, they employ different contextually dependent adaptation strategies. And I'm going to give you some examples later. But wherever they are located, gender plays a significant role in serving as the cohesive foundation of these groups. For example, in Kupang, in East Nusa Tenggara, where the main livelihood of women locals are subsistence fishing and farming, as well as Nenun, weaving, they mainly rely on natural resources and natural dyes. But the aggressive establishment of food estate and the geothermal power have magnified the already extreme ecological conditions in East Nusa Tenggara, which then force women to change their basic livelihood. So what happened as their adaptation strategies, they to to overcome with that kind of challenges, they plant local trees, they restore mangrove, they do whatever they can. They conducted capacity building for women to educate what needs to be done, by doing those stuff. And for example, in Poso, with the Mosinto Institute, their strategy is that they preserve local knowledge and tradition. They had these cultural festivities in preserving local knowledge about how to take care of Poso Lake, for example, after the planting of the PLTA, the water plants in the lake. Another example of climate adaptation strategies that is visible in Yogyakarta in both organizations is the use of local agricultural calendar, or in Javanese we call it as Pranoto Mongso. It is a traditional Javanese agricultural calendar that will gives us the information of timekeeping system, and it also guides the farmers when to plant and when to harvest, when to water, and so on, so that the farmers, they could have optimal planting, harvesting, as well as preparing for seasonal challenges and the transition in between. And also another example is the sustainable agriculture that was advocated by the Charisma farmers groups, female farmer groups in Yogyakarta. They against the revolution, the Green Revolution policy, they advocate the local farmers to use locally ground seeds and natural fertilizer, and doesn't abide by the state imposition of the use of foreign seeds as well as foreign or alien fertilizer. And to ensure climate resilience, as our findings and perhaps other similar studies show, like Bahayun's research also suggests, we are tendering the suggestion to first the use of gender-responsive approach to adaptation by firstly acknowledging that women do play some considerable roles in climate adaptation, and also provide equal access to social protection and climate adaptation programs. So what happened on the ground, for example, because women are not visible within the structural system and within this climate adaptation program, for example, in the coastal area or the coastal policy, from the case of Makassar, for example, the boat assistance, the boat donation from the state was only given to male fishermen, but not for female, because it is assumed that it is always men who becomes the head of the family. But what happens with women, single parent, like women as a single parent, will not be able to receive that kind of assistance from the climate adaptation program. And third of all, we would like to highlight the importance of collaboration between the state and this grassroots community that has been contributing to this aspect, to build a stronger mutual combinations and more inclusive climate adaptation. So thank you very much. That's a bit from our research, and I would like to looking forward to further discussion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the presentation, Ibu Sulfa, and also I think we can go into Q&A session now if Ibu Hayun is still here. Let me take a few questions. We have a lot of questions in the box reflecting more than 80 people now in the Zoom room. So let me kind of digest some of the questions so that we have time to go through them. I think a lot of several people have questions about measurement of climate change and also climate change impact. It's maybe the first question is for Hayun. Let's see, I think from Ibu Dayu Resa Sudarmo, from Ratu Fitri, Amalia Fubani, what is used as indicator of climate change and also indicator of the impact? I know we don't have time to go through them, but maybe you can give some examples, Mbak Hayun. Again, let me invite you to post questions, attendees to post questions by writing in the Q&A box or clicking raise hand, and then we can have you ask directly in the Zoom room. Silakan mengajukan juga pertanyaannya dalam bahasa Indonesia, bisa dituliskan di kotak Q&A atau juga bisa klik raise hand, nanti kita akan panggil untuk bertanya secara langsung. Baik, silakan Mbak Hayun.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Lydia. Yeah, thank you for the question. I think this is the stimulant for us for thinking about the research more deeply. Yeah, for the climate change impact, we use the scale, climate change anxiety scale, and maybe like the simple question that we ask to the participant, like in bahasa, like memikirkan tentang perubahan cuaca menyebabkan saya sulit tidur. This is one of example maybe for the climate change impact, and we use the scale from English, but then we translate and adaptation to Indonesia, and we also ask the permission from the owner of the scale too. And for the, I think this is this example for the climate change impact scale, example question. And is it okay for the only one sample, or yeah, I think the other one is saya berpikir mengapa saya bereaksi seperti ini terhadap perubahan cuaca, atau kekhawatiran saya tentang perubahan cuaca membuat saya sulit menyelesaikan pekerjaan. Orang-orang di sekitar saya mengatakan saya terlalu memikirkan tentang perubahan cuaca. With the respon tidak pernah, jarang, terkadang, seringkali, dan selalu. Jadi it's only consists of 13 items to measure about the climate change impact, eco-anxiety. It's only focused on eco-anxiety.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, for the other, because the time constraint to finish the data collection, so we have only limitation time to conduct this research, because we get the grant from IRSA and we have to present in the IRSA conference. So we use the survey, and I think this is the limitation of the research. We only for the question from Bu Eka, that we only ask the woman from the demography data, like for example is apakah Anda yang melakukan mayoritas pekerjaan rumah tangga? So they pick yes or no. It's only for measure the household responsibility and equal and unequal responsibility. This is general from the measurement. Or I think I want to answer the question about the how to measure the level. We contain the mean from the result of the question.
Okay, so that's how to measure the severity. There's a question from Pak Asrul Tidik. asking about how you measure mild and severe impacts.
Yeah, we determine the level of depressive symptom by mean score, and for the severe level in the rural area, it's only participant, not all of the participants. Only participant in the severe level.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Let's go to the other questions. This question is for Kak Zulfa from Giaderari. And also, I think there was another question about the organizations themselves who were included in your study. How many women, and also what is the average age, if you have that information, and whether these organizations have existed for a long time, and are they receiving currently government support?
Yeah, thank you, Bu Lydia. And in response to Kak Gia's question, thank you for your question, Kak Gia. Before I answer the question, perhaps I'd like to explain a bit about the survey method. So in order to run the survey, because we work together with the four women's climate advocacy groups, we work together with them so that because they have established this very good and professional network or kind of relationship within their network. We would like to work together with them to distribute the survey. So the thing is that we run 50 organizations per partner. So 50 organization from East Nusa Tenggara, 50 organization that will be conducted by Mosinto Institute, 50 organization from Sri Institute, and another 50 organization from SP or Solidaritas Perempuan Kinasi Yogyakarta. As the same reason, and I know that this is a classic reason, like Mbak Hayun, we are currently still analyzing our data. We actually would like to provide you with a map, giving you the map of Indonesia and, giving you the geographical location of where each organization out of those 200 organizations located in Indonesia, but we can ensure you that they are all located across the country, across the archipelago. And with the age, as you said, we categorize them into three categories. The first one is like the very senior, the long-serving organization, like for example, WALHI, included. You must have heard about WALHI, right? And Solidaritas Perempuan itself, because although they have their branch in Jakarta, and they are established by feminist in Jakarta, but then now they have their branches in several other cities in Indonesia, and we also have that in our map. And they're really serious in advocating in ecological issues in Indonesia. So that's the senior one, and then the medium one. A senior is, I think, will be more than 10 years. Medium age will be around 5 until 10 years, and the newborn, like baby, will be around 1 till 5 years. And also we have that in our map. But I'm very sorry, until this time we haven't finished making that database. Data base, but we are committed to make that map, and I think after this, when it's ready, we will launch that in our website in Pusat Kajian Literasi in our university here in UNES. And yes, it's I cannot go to the question again from Kak Gia, Bu Lydia, so I think I missed the other question. It's suddenly gone.
Yeah, whether they receive support from the government?
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's the answered one. Okay. Yeah. So some of them they receive no. So they are a non-government organization, but they some of them they are research based, although they are a grassroots initiative. So some of them they receive what is it, like research funding from certain ministries. Like for example from KPPA, but most of them they do not. So they although they run professionally, they got from other donors, such as from Germany and from other countries as well, but just from the government as well.
Okay, thank you. So there were several questions directed to Mahayun about the severity of anxiety that I guess was presented in that rural women have more anxiety than urban women. So there were several questions about this, asking you, why do you think this is the case that in rural women living in rural areas experience more anxiety? And perhaps this is also related to the question about natural disasters. Can you explain more about the natural disasters or the climate change impact that people experience, whether it's related to floods or forest fires or other things? I don't know if you have this data, Mbak Hayun, but maybe if you do have that data, you can give an illustration of the types of natural disasters that the women experience.
Yeah. For the first question about why maybe like the level of depressive symptoms, yeah. The question is about depressive symptoms higher in the rural, is it right?
Yes.
Yeah. I think it's the limitation that we only ask about where they live in the rural or urban area, but based on previous research or based on the phenomena, maybe they don't know about the climate change impact or what is the symptoms, or not symptoms, maybe like the situation that happened when the climate change, or maybe any extraneous variable that affected the depressive symptoms, maybe. I think it's for the next research to investigate about what happened in the rural and in the urban related to their anxiety. Is it only in the psychological background, maybe not only one causes will affect human will occur level of or symptom of depression, may be a lot of variable, and so we have to know is there any other extraneous variable or variable that will affect it to the depressive symptoms.
Okay, thank you. I think there's a lot of interest in expanding or more elaboration about the climate change impacts and the women's, I guess, demographic background. Ibu Yoshi Evelyn from Ministry of Trade is asking that she's interested in seeing that more educated women have more anxiety on climate change, since you would think that the more educated women have more information on how to overcome it.
Maybe I agree with Ibu
Yoshi Evelyn.
Yoshi Evelyn. Maybe when the educated women have a lot of knowledge about the climate change, they feel so anxious about what is happening in their daily life. So they face a lot of struggle, I think. I think it's because they know a lot of climate change and the impact to their cognitive functional and about their thinking about what happened in their mind.
Can I take on that, Mbak Hayun and Bu Lydia?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with Mbak Hayun because this is interesting. So again, the possession of information given us, and while on the one hand, cognitively speaking, we have all the information about climate change, but on the other hand, we know not we can do. We can do nothing to overcome it. So I think, and a real example would be Greta Thunberg. I mean, before boycotting from school or running the Friday school strike, she was identified with a very severe depression, right? Long before that kind of movement or activism happened. So I think you're right. I can resonate with your findings on this issue. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Let's move to the next question from Ginanjarar. The question is for Mbak Zulfa. Can you talk more on women community specific roles on climate change adaptation? More specifically about the power dynamics or relation of these roles with men. It's difficult to imagine the values or ideals of liberal gender equality when it comes to rural communities. So it's more about the power dynamics of the women group with men, I guess, in the community.
Yeah, thank you, Ginanjar. And I think the question underneath from Pak Alek Karji, I think we can address these two questions at the same time, talking about the relationship between gender and climate change in rural areas. And what Pak Alek is trying to address is actually the ideal condition. You're saying that if families played balanced roles in adaptation process, wouldn't many of these issues be mitigated? Yes, exactly. And that's why we try to address this issue. The thing is that especially in rural areas in the developing countries such as Indonesia, India, and many other developing countries, it's not balanced. But the ideal condition would be that balanced power dynamics. But the thing is that it's not balanced. So perhaps if it's hard for you, Mas Ginanjar, to imagine, then perhaps at home we can observe who is cooking at home, right? If it is woman, then in order to cook in rural areas, not in urban and middle class families, but in rural areas, in lower middle class, they have to ensure that the energy at home and the water and food at home are available. So if they do not have the capacity to buy, they do not have that financial capacity to buy things such as what we found in Poso, they have to find something from their surroundings. But then the current discourse of developmentalism, that you have to eat rice so that you will be considered as rich and normal people, then they have to purchase rice. But what if they do not have the money? So women have to find some alternatives in order to provide food at home. They have to ensure that the water at home is available for cooking. In Gunung Kidul, for example, women have to walk several miles just to get water to cook and to drink and so on. They have to find some firewoods as well to cook. And it's on women. It's their responsibilities shouldered by women. So as Mbak Hayun findings also suggest that women have that double burden in domestic work when climate crisis, when the drought and and flood, for example, happened, they have to work harder to provide that food on the table. So yeah, I think that's how we can imagine. I mean, something that is visible, I think, in our eyes at our own home. Imagine if there is no clean water from the tap. Imagine if there is no a gas at home. There is no a normal stove at home, and food that we can buy. So who will be responsible?
Okay, thank you. There's an interesting question from Esther Mahar, Esther Mahar. And I think this can go to both Mbak Hayun and Mbak Zulfa. What do you see the long-term impact of climate change to the quality of future generation, considering the importance of female, the woman, in upbringing and the physical and the mental upbringing of children in Indonesia? So maybe Mbak Hayun first, considering that the female is have experiencing eco-anxiety and we can call it depression. Yeah. What do you think about the impact to the future generation, especially to guest children, physical and mentally?
Yeah. Based on our research or my explanation that women have a lot of domestic responsibility or domestic burden, so they can affect their parenting and how they manage their children, how they discussion with their children, and how they handle the children will affect the mental health of the children in the future, of course. So when the women facing the climate change impact, or they have another problem in the home, and then they feel like how they angry to the children, or they don't want to talk slowly, and this is important things that will affect the children mental health, especially in the future. Yeah, so this is important thing is about the parenting, I think. So the woman has to be health, to be well-being, to give the good parenting for the children.
Yeah. But if they are experiencing mental health problems, do you think that will impact the children?
Yeah, of course. Because they don't know how to take care of themselves. So it is like maybe like if we traveling by plane, we can get how to self-care, care our first, and then take care another one. This is the illustration, I think, for how the women have to take care themselves first, and then they will help others.
Okay. Mbak Zulfa, would you like to address that question about the impact to the future generation?
Yeah, I think I will. I mean, although this is not coming from my from the research that we are doing now, but I read it somewhere that now, I mean, men, women, boys, girls, children, adults, we are more prone to be sick these days because of the changing air quality, for example. I mean, in Jakarta itself, although it's not necessarily from climate change, but the worsening air quality is also one symptom of the climate, crisis. We are more prone to having flu these days, although we can also trace that into COVID, post-COVID kind of condition. But yeah, I mean, these days, more and more, I mean, in terms of physical health and stability and condition, we're more prone to have that kind of challenges than ever before. And in terms of mental health, I think Hayun is more authoritative to explain about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. So, Ibu Eka Sulistyowati asked, do rural women in Aceh, do rural women and urban women have the same responsibilities in domestic tasks? So, I think Ibu Eka is proposing what do you call it? The transmission, yeah, mechanism or the reason for the rural women being more depressed because she asked, is it possible that the domestic burden on rural women is significantly harder than urban women, considering that they are commonly not entitled with household assistance IRT, yeah. So yeah, this is a speculation from Ibu Eka, but Hayun, if you would like to address this, if rural women actually have a higher domestic burden than urban women in Aceh generally.
Yeah, thank you for the question from Bu Eka. Yeah, it's interesting that why women in the rural, I think the women in the rural and the urban have the same responsibility to domestic tasks, but the women in the urban, some of the women will have another job in the office or maybe like another activities in outside home, and from this activity they will get this like a social support. They can talk to each other and then will affect to the mental health. So we think that to the women in the rural area, they only focus on their domestic roles. They only in the home, maybe a limitation activity in the outside of the home. So we think that social support or another activity will help the woman to reduce the anxiety when they're facing the struggle or obstacle in the daily life.
Okay, thank you. I think this is related to now we know that they're facing anxiety. So what do we do about it? So Ibu Fatima asking if what can you give about recommendation on human resources management or business and policy to address this issue? I think you mentioned some of these already, Mbak Hayun, but maybe from the HR management in business, I think that's interesting to note. And also, Ibu Amalia Fubani is asking if this phenomenon of eco-anxiety is happening in other countries, or maybe you can give if you can give examples of what recommendations or a policy they have in other countries to reduce this eco-anxiety feeling.
Yeah, what can we address this issue like resource management in business or policy making? Yeah, it's hard to answer, but I think the important, the practical technique or the practical skill that the woman should have. It's about how can they take care of themselves, especially like they have skill about the self-care. They know when they feel uncomfortable. They know what to do if they feel like anxious or anxiety. They know what to do. They have one skill maybe to manage their thinking, their anxiety, their cognitive impairment, because many of us don't have a strategy to manage our stressor, and we don't know about how to take ourselves. So I think the practical skill that we can give attention for the woman should have the skill to take themselves by skill like self-care technique, I think, like how to stress management stress. And for the question from the I think it's talking about the climate change is globally issue, and also there is a different type of climate change that happen in our country and the others country. But I think we should investigate more about the research in other countries. In focus on mental health, I think I only can answer about the mental health, that for the medical treatment, and for the mental health, that we have to know about our perception, our knowledge, and then will affect our behavior. So the NCAT is also related with the behavior. How can they act in the daily life, and how can they interpret the stressor, and will affect it to their behavior. Does it make sense?
Yeah. It's going to be very challenging because on the other hand, the more you know, if you have how information more on how to adapt, then that might also contribute more to stressing based on the data of educated women knowing more about climate change might not make them more or less anxious, gitu ya. So there's a couple of questions to Ibu Zulfa. The first from Ari Setiorini about gender in climate documents. Do you think, or do you have information on from the educational perspective about the extent of gender portrayal in educational policy or documents? And what about taking this issue into formal educational institutions? So the gender aspect of climate change in educational perspective. The second one, maybe I give you also another question so you can answer in one go, Bu Zulfa. From Nur Yani or Yani in Kalimantan. Hello, Ibu Yani. Thank you for coming. What is women's motivation to contribute to environmental issues? Because Ibu Yani or the organization find it challenging to increase women participation in social forestry.
Okay, thank you. I'll start addressing the question from Mbak Ari Setiorini first. Thank you for your kind words here, Mbak Ari. And yes, I think I share similar interests with you to look at the relationship between climate change and education or educational policy and documents here. And this is coming from another research, not this one, because education is another sector that perhaps it's not really discussed and included in our I've been talking about our education sector or the educational policies have addressed the issue of ecology or climate change. And from that research, unfortunately, and also other previous studies confirmed my argument, our argument in the education sector. So, for example, you might want to read the book by Parker and Prabowo. The title is Environmental Education in Indonesia, published by Routledge. It says that this issue is not really it's not taken up in the education sector. And so that's why I think starting from last year because I'm part of the ALMI, Akademi Ilmuwan Muda Indonesia, the Indonesian young scientist. Sorry, I suddenly forget the English term for that. We BSKP. Mas Nino is also part of ALMI, but he is the head of BSKP workshop. FGDs. We try to look at some spaces in our curriculum to include ecological issues or climate crisis into the curriculum. Although I think there are several textbooks that can be used. Textbooks that are talking about water, for example, but it's currently produced by private sectors such as Danone. But then the one that is state-led or government-led is, I think, is still very low, or perhaps, I don't know, there isn't any. So yeah, we are still working on this, and we hope to see something this year, like the real inclusion of the issue of climate change into the educational sectors or institution or curriculum. And perhaps the first thing is that we can work on the first the first step is on the textbook itself, because in Indonesia, textbooks hold around 80% of readership in our students. I mean, they read books, but it's only the textbooks. That's very unfortunate. But I think that's a very strategic way to to start with this project. And regarding Bu Nuryani's question, yes, I understand if it's really challenging to include women participation in social forestry issue. Perhaps it's I think we can have this. I mean, it's arguably speaking. I mean, it really depends on localities as well. But in several research, like research in Mexico and in Indonesia would be in Java, we have, wait, let me try to think. In Rembang, I forgot the name of the area, but women do play their roles in protecting traditional forest and also mangrove. Like here, an example here would be in our neighborhood here in Demak, because one of the area in Sayong, there's one village that is sinking because of the increasing water or sea level. These women and her groups, they keep on planting mangrove, and there isn't any donor from the government, but they keep on doing that. And one of them said that if it's not us, then who else? You know, because they have that kind of sense of belonging with the area, with the village, although it's sinking. So they want to keep something to protect the more worst thing that happened, because Semarang is predicted, if nothing happened, if nothing is done, it is predicted in 2045 the whole Semarang downtown will be covered with seawater. So they have that kind of ecological awareness of what's coming. So I think what motivation, sometimes it's that sense of belonging, sometimes it's their real ecological awareness, and it's solidarity. It's another motivation. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. So hopefully, Bu Yani, you can think through about which of these potentially can attract the participation of women in Kalimantan. So we have Clara Siagian, who will ask a question directly. Hi, Clara. Thanks for coming.
Hi, Mbak Lydia. Thank you for inviting us. So I'll just go straight to the question. So my question is around predominantly to Bu Zulfa, but if Bu Hayun can also chip in, that would be great. So my question is now that we sort of established that climate change also impact on the everyday mundane social reproductions and domestic works that fall disproportionately on women, like putting fetching water, putting food on the table. These are not, the natural sudden disasters that sort of like preoccupy our minds when it comes to climate change. Do you think, from your observation, do you see the government understand this at all? And what do they do if they have specific intervention to this? And if I may add another questions related to that. So it seems to me from your presentation that this women group seems to focus on empowering themselves to kind of adapt, right? Is there any effort to push or demand something from the government in climate change, future-proofing the next generations, rather than just looking inward and taking resources that they have to kind of protect themselves again? So, where is the government in all of this? Thank you.
Thank you, Mbak Clara. Mbak Lydia, may I
Okay.
directly? Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank
And
you.
then Bu Hayun, if you have some answer to the question.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Clara. It's a good question and also a difficult one. Right. So perhaps, well, from our research findings in the policy reviews, and I think by Andi Pertiwi from, I forgot the university, but she is currently pursuing her PhD in London as well. We had a lot of discussion about this. Well, those 7 documents that we found, they actually have included, and they really addressed the issue of women, and they recognize that there is a social reproduction that is going on here, and it falls disproportionately on women daily, mundane kind of activities, and they have Bappenas itself. They have issued they have used the gender analysis pathway. So with this kind of gap as the main document, then we can see how to not only mainstream or take up the issue of gender in policy, but also how to really realize that goal. So for example, there are 9 indicators here, or steps, not only on the policy formulation, but also how the evaluation itself measure whether the objective of the policy is really attained, and there are gender indicators as well. I mean, if this gap document is really taken up in other policies across ministries, across sectors, then I think it will be more powerful. This is the specific intervention that we could actually say, but then so it's not, we are not there yet. So out of these 9 steps, the findings has been mixed. So for example, they have the objective, but they do not really they are not really broken down into funding, or providing infrastructure. So there is a mismatch between the objective as well as it's not followed up by the political commitment to fund or to realize that goal, and so on. So I kind of forgot the second question.
So the second question is regarding the advocacy groups, the women groups. Do they have any efforts to? It seems like their efforts is sort of like inward looking and empowering themselves.
Okay.
But is there any push for the government to do something that is more sustainable and long-term.
Because out of the 200 female organizations that we surveyed, they have different intensities, and they are different in terms of their age. The senior ones, such as SP, Solidaritas Perempuan, the Women Solidarity, while they have this link, or they sometimes they can demand audience, or forum, or they have this opportunity to deliver or present their findings to the government, related government, either it's in the national level or in the provincial level. So they can have that kind of impact or nexus between what they've been doing on the ground, and perhaps a little bit of research, and with policy making, try to influence policy making. They did that. Some of the really senior organization, but with some others, you're right that they're empowering themselves first. I mean, amongst themselves. But I think grassroots organizations, I think they start from empowering themselves first. They build that because that is the solid foundation. To have that kind of solidarity first, and then only after that they can move on to next level for policy nexus afterwards.
Mbak Hayun, would you like to add to that?
Maybe
question?
I want to add, for example, it's related to the attention from the government, especially to mental health, which is still challenging. That's why if we talk about the question related to is the government have a program to women or to the community, I think is still the important agenda that we have to pay attention, because when we talk about the regulation, like now we are still challenging about like undang-undang kesehatan jiwa. This is still the problem that we face about the intervention or attention from the government, especially to mental health. So this is the future agenda we have to encourage or ensure, or like by the research we have to give a policymaker give attention to this issue, I think. I think Mbak Bu Zulfa have answered it completely. So I also add about the undang-undang kesehatan jiwa saja.
Yeah. Thank you both for that answer. And it's a little bit past 11:30. So before ending the session, let me, on behalf of attendees, also thank both presenters, Mbak Hayun, Mbak Zulfa, and also good luck in finalizing the paper and getting it published. I think there's a lot of interest if we see from all the questions, and also people saying through it, more than 80 people now in the room. Interesting topic, and also it's a relatively new area of study. So hopefully this will also inspire you participants to do similar research or research in the area of gender and climate change. So thank you. You can use your reaction emoji to give appreciation, to clap, or to give thumbs up or love. Thank you, Mbak Zulfa and Mbak Hayun. Before I close this room, or also I should give a little bit of promotion. Next year, IRSA will be in Semarang. So at the Universitas Negeri Semarang. So is it at Universitas Negeri?
No.
Sorry. It's at Universitas Diponegoro. Sorry. Yeah, in Semarang. So you can get yourself ready. Usually call for paper will be promoted in, I guess, March, April, and also invitation to submit application for research grants. So this is a good opportunity for everyone, because I know the IRSA research grants are not very bureaucratic or administratively difficult. Yeah, simple proposal. So you can submit early next year. And hopefully you can attend the IRSA conference next year in Semarang. So before I close the room, I will share information about our next FKP event next week on Tuesday, which is the Mubiarto Public Policy Forum, featuring Professor Samuel Badzi as a speaker. So I will put that in the screen after this. Thanks again, everyone. Thank you for coming, and thank you for listening and giving your feedback. See you in the next FKP.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, Mbak.
Thank you, Mbak. Selamat makan siang semua.